Wouldn't have gone the whole meeting that way. So, yeah, so,
Okay.
yep,
Just the live stream is just booting up.
okay.
So
Sandy,
we are live.
Okay. All right. I will call the meeting to order. This meeting will be live streamed, recorded, and available to the internet by visiting the county's website at www.thecounty.ca. This meeting will be conducted as a virtual electronic meeting in accordance with the county's procedural bylaw. So we'd like to have a motion to confirm the agenda. If no one has anything to add or subtract from the agenda, nothing? Okay, movement. Okay, Arjon, and seconder, please. Ross, okay. So no one is adding anything or, okay, taking anything out. All right, so then I'll have vote. Oh, yes.
It's a very minor issue in item 6.1. Just Ben, I'm just wondering, when people's names are listed, could you include the role? Because not all of us are familiar with the names and the public who may participate. Yeah.
Noted.
Okay.
Okay. No problem.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Bob. Okay, so I'll call a vote for the confirming of the agenda. All in favor? Thank you very much. And we'll move on. Disclosure of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof. Does anyone have any pecuniary interest on agenda items? Seeing none, we will move into the minutes of the previous meeting. That the minutes from the Milton Cultural Heritage Advisory Committee meeting held March 5th, 2025 be adopted as presented. I need a mover and a seconder, please. Move the minutes. Thank you, Councillor Hirsch. Seconder. Valerie, thank you very much. All in favor? There are no corrections or anything in there? No. Okay, thank you. All right, all in favor. Motion passed. Presentations 6.1. Andrea Dawes and Stacy
Actually,
Squirrel. Yeah.
Pardon me, Madam Chair, that just
Yeah.
one announcement.
Oh.
I'd like to thank Bob Walden for pointing this out to me. Just remind everyone, the County Foundation has a Built Heritage Fund that's receiving applications now until April 28th. So it's just another stream that, to support heritage projects. All the information is available on the County Foundation's website.
Yeah.
If anyone has any questions.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Ben.
I will let the guests in for the presentation.
The presentations regarding the draft community initiated public art review heritage designation municipal and private spaces procedure. That's a long introduction for that. All right, so Andrea and Stacy are here now.
Hi, I'm sorry I missed the introduction. I was waiting to be let in, but I hope it was great.
Yeah, well, I read what you've got. It sounds like a very interesting thing that you're doing. So let's have a presentation and see what your work has been doing. Yep.
Okay, great. And just to let you know, or to ask Sandra, did you just read my whole agenda or?
No.
Okay,
just
great.
No. I wouldn't steal your thunder.
Okay, thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Andrea. I work for County Arts, our local arts council, and my colleague Stacy is here as well. Stacy is an artist and our programs director at County Arts, and will be taking on the public art coordinator role. So a quick update, I recognize some of you folks from a little while back when we met, came to present during the public art plan development process. Fast forward, we have had that plan, we've developed that plan and had it approved by council last fall. And we've now entered into a 3-year partnership agreement with the municipality to develop and implement the public art program, our first public art program, in collaboration with municipal staff. So it's really exciting. And basically the plan really provides that community informed vision for what public art, what the community wants to see in our public spaces, where, and different themes, and those kinds of things. So that will really be our guiding document moving forward. And there'll be two primary streams. We'll be working on actual public art commission projects. So we have a budget of $30,000 per year from the municipality for public art works. As you can imagine, it doesn't go too far. It's relatively small compared to most municipal public art budgets, but we're excited to be starting somewhere, and looking forward to seeing what we can get done with that amount, and maybe it will grow in the future. And then the other part of the program will be reviewing community-initiated projects that come forward. These have, as you know, as residents and driving around, you'll see little bits of public art around our community. Now there will be a process and procedures to follow involving you folks when it comes to heritage spaces. So we're hoping for, while there are many, a few cooks in the kitchen, we're hoping for a streamlined process for the public, user-friendly public art page on our website that will link out to the municipality's website with the heritage permit applications and things like that. So if someone wants to initiate a public artwork in a heritage space or a municipal space, they will have a clear procedure to follow. We'll also be working with Chris Palmer, who's the supervisor of museums and cultural services, and he'll be our municipal public art liaison, and helping us with the formation of an interdepartmental public art team that will be municipal staff. He's actually presenting at the leadership meeting right now, so he wasn't able to join us, but he's recruiting for that public art team that will be made up of staff. And we also have a public art committee formed of citizen representatives. That is also we're having our first meeting next week, and it's just being formed as well. There was a public application process for that. So for today, we've basically drafted the public art policy and procedures. They're now being reviewed by relevant people, including Sarah Vio, the staff lawyer, and in coming weeks by Marcia Wallace as well. So we wanted to come to you to just make sure that where public art and heritage spaces and reviews and the committee intersect, that we have a process moving forward for making sure that you're able to cover all the bases that you need to in terms of protecting heritage spaces, and that we can work together to facilitate public art in heritage spaces in a way that respects the integrity of those spaces and buildings. So I sent along, and not sure if anybody had a chance to look. Thank you once again to Ross and Emily, who we met a few weeks ago. We did a preliminary review with them and made some changes based on their feedback. So today we wanted to come to the full group and just, if people have had a chance to look through those documents that were sent out, we sent out the application form that residents would be using to apply for any public artworks in municipal and/or heritage spaces, as well as the internal procedures for how those reviews happen. And we've detailed, to ensure that if required, there is the heritage permit application process kind of comes first. And then, we're reviewing on the content of the artwork. Chris Palmer is checking in with any other municipal departments that need to be notified. So yeah, we've tried to come up with a procedure that makes sense for everyone. So any questions for anybody who did have the chance to go through the documents? Any concerns, please let us know.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, have you some questions or comments from the committee? Yes, Edwin.
Oh, thank you. Good morning. I just wanted to first ask uh, about the definition of, or your understanding of alteration or altering, because what it implies under the physical spaces is a physical alteration to a heritage fabric, right? Whereas in fact, it could also apply to a billboard being put up, or not a billboard, but a panel with art on it being put up in a place which made the building look disproportionate. In other words, it seems to me that alteration needs to be broader in where it comes to the committee for review.
Yeah, so I just looked in the document and I think the definition of heritage permit um, includes that word alteration. That's the only
Yeah.
place I see it mentioned, and that's actually from I believe the Ontario Heritage Act.
Oh, yes. No, it's a word that's ambiguous at the best of times, unfortunately, even in the
Yeah, yeah, and I think
somewhere. I did see it somewhere in your text. It's quite a long text. I can't say I didn't locate it exactly, but if you could, I will find that and follow up on that if you like.
sure.
On that point.
Yeah.
Second one was in scope, item B.
Yeah.
It's said that it's suggested that insurance might be an issue for the heritage permit. And I don't think that's in fact, the case. Heritage permits do not really engage themselves with insurance. You had a place in your own procedure where it said you must present your relevant and up-to-date insurance anyway, so that wasn't a problem.
Thank you, Edwin, for raising that. I actually that was verbiage from the mural and art installation guidelines that the Heritage Committee had prepared, and then we just kind of rolled that into this document. But on the insurance point, we're checking in with Sarah Vio, the lawyer.
Oh, good. Yeah.
And we're just going to make sure, we don't want to be asking people for things we don't need, that's for sure. So we'll be going over that. Yeah, thank you.
Great. No, that's good. Then the third one is in your terms and conditions, item 20.
Yeah, in the form.
Yeah, painted walls, and saying that walls which are already painted could be painted with a latex breathable paint, etc. Now, is this still open to adjustment? Is this document still a draft? Yeah, just another technical issue I wanted to add there. Yeah.
Yeah, and again, this is from the Heritage Committee's document. What I guess maybe tell me a little bit about your concerns
Okay.
there.
Walls which are existing, painted walls existing, sure, we can paint over them. What would be advantageous would be a coating of a water-soluble glaze that's normally put on particularly with artwork, something that's put on the wall so that anything is added over the top that can be removed readily, easily.
Yes.
Rather than just adding to I mean, there's a future time when possibly the wall will no longer be painted. People may not want it to be painted. And in having to take off two sort of iterations of paint work rather than just one, which was already there. It's a bit you works in murals and things get touched to interpret, and they always paint them with a clear glaze so that that addition can be removed at a future time. I mean, it's I will look into it a bit further again and comment, but it wouldn't be appropriate in all situations, but there are circumstances where that might be the appropriate thing to do, and it might just be good to put it in there.
Thank you. We have it in point 21, and it's referred to as an anti-graffiti coating, but I think we're talking about the same thing.
Yeah. Now, the only problem with an anti-graffiti is they tend to have a slight shine. There's very few that are absolutely matte, whereas the sort of glaze I'm talking about, which is a matte finish, so it doesn't affect anything otherwise.
Great. We haven't publicly announced the Public Art Committee yet, but we do have some very, very experienced mural experts there. So we can go over those finer details. Hopefully we'll be, going forward with projects sooner than later. But thank you for raising those concerns, and by all means, if you have other questions, feel free to pass them by. I don't know if my email is there, but we can get that to you.
Thank you. And Ross, you had a
Thank you.
question?
Yeah, I was just going to mention that we did also, when we were doing the sort of preliminary review, and I don't think we reached a consensus on this, but we did talk about the fact that there may be cases where it would be better to like affix like a board or like an artwork
Yeah.
rather than applying it directly to a surface, like having it on a separate board and allowing like air circulation behind, for example, in like older brick and that kind of thing.
Definitely.
And so that was a possibility. I mean, obviously there's, I would assume quite a cost difference with doing that versus a paint on a wall, but like that's another possibility in terms of like that for specifically heritage situations or some heritage situations.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. So we have tried to account for that in the documents, and that of course, especially if it has not been painted, then it will not be painted if it's a heritage building, heritage wall. And then looking into those panel options. If anybody wants an example, that was the procedure that Carbon Gallery, just behind Main Street, behind the yellow and the county canteen, used, and it's good for longevity as well, because you can use like specific panel materials. So yeah, so noted, Ross. Thank you. Yeah.
Good. Anyone else have questions or comments? Yes, Bob?
Hi. First of all, congratulations to whoever was able to wade through the policy document. It seems very detailed, if not prescriptive. My comments, because I'm the new person on the committee, and this is the first time I'm seeing all the material.
Yeah.
So I think my comments are more from the perspective of someone who might be looking at the application form, and just to seek a little bit of clarification there. So on item 12, I understand why you're asking for this information. You want to make sure that people have properly anticipated the costs of installing and maintaining. But do you really need to know things like the artist fees? How do you strike a balance between assuring yourself that things have been properly costed and getting down into the bug dust that maybe we don't need to?
Yeah, and I think, especially if it's for private properties, for example, where the municipality doesn't need to, have that, really detailed information. I think it's also kind of an education piece in that we are, especially for the maintenance, that's like the one part of that budget. We just want to see that people have thought through. It's not just the public artwork doesn't end when it goes up. And that there has to be just a thought given to having a budget for maintenance, not that we have to see your bank account necessarily, but just that thought process has happened, and consideration has gone into that. And also, we always advocate for paying artists, and so understanding we're actually in the process of creating a how to respectfully work with artists document that we're going to be kind of rolling out to the community, just to really emphasize artist rights and things like that, artist fees. There are standards for these things. So yeah. So if you were in the terms and conditions section, I think of the form, and it says the applicant may not charge any admission fee or other fees. Is that the item that you are referring to?
No, it's item 12 on, well, it's the application form.
Okay.
Artwork project information section.
Okay.
So
numbers might have changed, but yes, it's a request for a budget, I think. Is that what you're?
Yeah, please outline the project
budget,
okay. Including the artist fees. Yeah. So I just encourage you to think about, well, how deeply do you really need to go
Yeah.
to request private information?
Yeah. Mhm.
So if you want to come down with me to terms and conditions
Yeah.
under the criteria for public art sites,
Mhm.
I think some language in there to make it clearer what the performance objectives are that you're seeking. I mean, there's a list of bullet points here that you're going to consider, but I would just sort of flesh it out a little bit more so people understand what is the important objective that you're asking them to achieve. It didn't seem quite clear to me.
Okay. Did
And
you have
then-
any specific, if you have any specific little,
Well,
yeah,
I'll get.
I don't want to go
I'll-
into like great detail here because
Sure.
it depends on the artwork, but yeah, if you have any
Well,
details.
let me just give you an example. There's a bullet point that says environmental impact.
Yeah.
Okay, what, like good,
Okay.
bad, what, just it needs a little bit more explanation.
Okay. Gotcha.
Then here's a really picky point just from someone who's done a lot of legal drafting. Under criteria for artwork proposals, in fact, through the document,
Yeah.
I would really try and stay away from the bullet point dots and circles and squares. And I would go back to a numbering system with paragraphs and subsections. It's just going to make it a lot easier to flow through and follow.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, we have it's all numbered in the procedures documents. Since this is a more public facing document, we didn't want to get into we wanted to include this information here, but yeah, I didn't want to get too much into the numbers and things, but yes, noted.
Okay. Those are my picky comments.
I love it. I mean, I actually kind of enjoy drafting these types of documents, so it's been a good task for me to take on. But thank you so much, and I do our review with Sarah Vio, the lawyer, is still to come, and so there might be Sarah's good at that stuff as well. So yeah.
Are Andrea and Stacy, are you staying on this meeting for the discussion of the Heritage Conservation District signage?
No, not that I wasn't aware that that was an item. Would that?
If you don't, I'm going to call you.
We'd be interested to hear more. So yeah, happy to participate in the conversation, but maybe, yeah. Sandra, is there, I don't know.
It's Ross, did you have a question or a comment?
Yeah, I was just it's not directly to Bob's point, but since you were talking about the application form in the preliminary review, I did mention that at an earlier meeting of this committee, we did talk about the possibility of reviewing and updating like the heritage application process and the form and stuff. And I know you're working off of what you have today, but I just flagged that so people would know that that's subject to future change.
Yeah, and we look forward to working with you on that. I mean, with the main objective being the user friendliness, we're all for that. So we look forward to that when it comes. We are under, policy and procedures have to be approved Q2, so we're under a bit of a timeline right now. But yeah, Sandra, does everybody have my email, or can you somehow?
Ben, have you circulated their emails?
I can certainly circulate that, and as always, anything that sort of comes through the committee, the clerk's office should be copied on just so we can track it. But I can make sure everybody's connected after the meeting.
Okay. Thank you, and please include Stacy's on that too, Ben. Please. Thank you.
Yeah, good. Anyone else like to comment? I'm looking forward to having the art installed.
Yeah, we are too.
I want to get through the paperwork.
I know.
And then get things out, and because we did one for Glenwood. We did commission a while back,
Yes.
and we get a lot of comments on it, and I wanted to do more there, and so I'm excited to see what we'll get, and
Yeah.
yeah.
And thank you in advance for your patience. It is a process.
Yeah.
You know, once the program is up and running, if there's an artist call, that takes some time. So it's going to take a while to roll
Yeah.
out, but we're looking forward to it.
Yes, a really good project. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. And now we will
We need a motion to receive.
yes, and the motion that the presentation by Andrea Dawes and Stacy Sproul, County Arts, regarding the draft community initiated public art review heritage designated municipal and private spaces procedure be received. And so I need a mover and a seconder for receiving this. Thank you, Ross, and seconder, Edwin. Thank you, and we're all in favor and excited about it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Motion passed.
Okay, have a good rest of your meeting.
Thank you.
So,
Madam Chair, stand by. I'm going to let, we have some speakers, but I'll let you take it. I'm just letting them in.
okay, just two speakers.
Just two speakers,
On
but
this
there's,
topic?
there's
Okay.
a
So
public
just
coming in groups.
for the committee, we have two speakers registered to speak on item 8.1, the application for site control for the Drake Devonshire Inn. To clarify, this will be a consultation on any heritage considerations that might affect the application. The project is not yet at the point where a heritage permit is required, and so there is no motion to be considered beyond receiving this discussion. This provides an opportunity for the committee members to ask questions or provide comment related to heritage considerations, which the property owners and planning staff may take into consideration as the project moves forward. So we have a first speaker.
Our
is
first guest is Richard Elliott.
Okay, Richard.
Richard, can you hear us?
Yeah. Oh,
Okay.
hi. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Could
Yes, we can.
you just clarify before I go on? Because I had understood that this is that there's a heritage permit involved and this was a preliminary meeting. Is it a meeting not in that regard?
Ben.
I'm going to maybe ask Matt Coffey to comment. Matt?
Yep. So no, there's no permit application that's been submitted yet. What we're dealing with is a site plan control application, and the applicant has been working on this application for approximately 1 year, and it's getting close to being finalized. But following that, there'll be a process that'll involve requirements for heritage permits and building permits. So we're not at that stage yet.
Okay, no, thanks. That clarifies. So I guess this is early stages, but I just wanted to make sure that the comments that I was making related to the eventual heritage permit application. So,
and just a reminder, you do have 3 minutes.
Okay, can I start now? So thanks for the opportunity to speak today. I was informed of the meeting yesterday, so I don't have a deposition prepared, but as I say, I was told this is initial meeting. There'd be opportunity to present comments once the application for the heritage permit's been submitted. I think an initial meeting like this makes sense given the scale of the Drake's proposed addition, which is one of the largest such projects ever proposed in Wellington. The letter from my wife and me to council is included in the material, so I don't propose to go over it, but will instead, in the short time available, just focus on a few points relating to heritage concerns. By way of background, in addition to owning the residential property adjacent to the Drake Devonshire at the south end of Wharf, we also own a commercial property on the main street in the middle of the village. As such, we took an active interest in the development of the heritage plan, both as residents and as owners of commercial property, wanting to better understand what we could and could not do under the plan. We participated in many meetings. I did a walk around with Carl Bray, etc. So to cut to the chase, what the Drake is now proposing is so fundamentally at odds with almost everything we heard during the development of the heritage plan that it's difficult to know where to start. Drake's proposing an addition that would dwarf the adjacent properties, including being larger than the existing Devonshire building. It raises obvious inconsistencies with the heritage plan. For instance, the heritage plan states, new construction shall maintain the general facade height of adjacent buildings, which includes our houses. Additional height, if permitted at all, must be stepped back from the main facade of the new construction or be located to the rear in order to complement the existing streetscape. Additions should be complementary and clearly secondary in terms of scale, massing, and height to the main building. Demolition on contributing properties is not permitted. To state the obvious, the Drake's proposed addition is disproportionately large, not secondary to their existing building in scale, massing, and height, overwhelms the general facade height of adjacent buildings, including ours. The upper floor is not stepped back to attempt to mitigate the adverse impact on the streetscape. In fact, we see no attempt to do anything regarding scale, massing, and height other than build to the maximum under the zoning. Also, the proposed addition involves demolition on a contributing property. Further, the point of the heritage plan stressing that additions be secondary, such as being located at the rear away from the street, is to allow existing heritage buildings and the streetscape to visually predominate. However, the Drake's plan would result in the opposite, a tall, massive block located right at the street in front of, not behind, the existing heritage contributing building. So I ask you to consider if my wife and I took the Drake's approach to the heritage plan and applied it to our commercial property on the main street. We would be able to demolish. We could build up to 12 meters without regard for adjacent properties. We could build in front of existing contributing buildings, etc. All things that we were very clearly told we could not do under the heritage plan. So I'll stop there for now. There's lots more that can be said. I'd be happy to answer questions. Also, I invite anyone at any point to our property if that assists in seeing this on a first-hand basis. Thanks very much for your time.
Thank you, Richard. Yes, now do we have other comments from the audience?
Yes, we have Dale Egan has registered. Dale, can you hear us?
Good morning. Yes, I can hear you all right.
Welcome, Dale.
Good morning, everyone. Am I able to start, Ben, or should I?
Yes.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
great.
If you could just maybe introduce
Yep.
yourself and
Of course. Good morning. My name is Dale Egan, and I'm a planner with RFA Planning Consultant. I'm here this morning in regards to item 8.1 of this morning's agenda. RFA is the agent on behalf of the Drakes, the site plan control application file number SP02-24. We have been working alongside Supercool for this project to develop the site plan and architectural drawings for this development. I'm joined this morning with Kate Myers and Kevin James, who are architects with Supercool, and I've been responsible for this building design and site plan layout. We're also joined by Scott Hart, who is the regional manager for the Drake. We'll be able to answer any questions that the committee may have on the site plan control application or architectural drawings later on through item 8.1. But before I discuss the proposed development, I'm going to briefly give a quick overview on how we got to where we are today. In advance of this site plan control application submission, a zoning bylaw amendment application was submitted to amend the property's site-specific zone and to include 20 Wharf Street within the core commercial zone, specifically the CC-6 zone. The CC-6 zone includes a site-specific setback and includes specific restrictions for the actual use of 20 Wharf Street. This zoning bylaw amendment was approved back in May of 2022, and the proposed development has considered the requirements of the CC-6 zone in the design. Since the approval of the zoning bylaw amendment, the Drake has been working on preparing their site plan control application submission and the design of both the site and the building. In preparing this submission, we've been working with a multidisciplinary team of professionals, which include professional engineers, architects, landscape architects, a heritage consultant, arborists, and lighting consultants in order to design the site and get a submission package prepared for the county. Through this process, we have developed a detailed site plan and a preliminary building design, which has incorporated each consultant's area of expertise. Through the site plan control application process, we have been back and forth with county planning staff on finalizing the site plan design. We have incorporated a number of changes on the site plan as suggested by staff since our initial submission, and we have not made any changes to the building through this process. Throughout this design process, we have relied on ERA architects to ensure that the policies of the Wellington Heritage Conservation District have been complied with. The proposed development will see the removal of 20 Wharf Street and new construction of approximately 611 square meters to the Drake Devonshire Inn. The proposal will be 3 stories in height and include 12 new guest rooms, an expanded kitchen, and an enlarged covered pavilion. The proposal will moderately expand the Drake Devonshire Inn Hotel and the covered pavilion. In terms of the Wellington Heritage Conservation District Plan, 20 Wharf Street is an existing single detached dwelling and is identified as a non-contributing building within the HCD. 24 Wharf Street is known as the Drake Devonshire Inn and is identified as a contributing building within the HCD. The proposed development has been evaluated by ERA Architects as new construction, as the development includes the replacement of the existing building at 20 Wharf Street and the replacement of a pavilion at 24 Wharf Street. Our applications positions the proposed design as a distinct new building rather than an addition. Through evaluating the design of the proposed building, ERA Architects have determined that the proposed development will not adversely impact the heritage attributes of the overall district and the commercial village core sub-district, and that this is in line with the objectives of the HCD plan, its policies and guidelines for new construction. The proposed development conserves the existing contributing property and the cultural heritage value of the district and sub-district as defined in the summary statement of a district's cultural heritage value or interest. In evaluating the proposed design, ERA has reviewed the proposed scale, massing, materiality, and window layout. ERA conducted that in responding to the various...
Pardon me, we're at the 3-minute.
We're at the 3-minute mark?
Yes,
Okay, I
yeah.
do apologize. So just quickly to wrap it up, I didn't quite get where I was planning to go, but as Mr. Coffey mentioned, we are at the preliminary stages, getting ready to finalize, hopefully, the site plan application. And the owners will be back when they have their building permit and all the final details finalized in order to apply for a heritage permit. And we look forward to working with this committee as we endeavor to acquire that heritage permit for this development. Thank you.
Thank you, Dale. And so these were comments related to that permit. Do you have, my first question is, when can we have an estimated time of when that permit will be coming forward? Estimated, estimated.
Thank you. That's a great question. It all depends on the back and forth with county staff and when we can finalize that site plan agreement. The design team will have quite a bit of more details to prepare for the actual construction drawings, along with tendering and things like that, to get to that building permit stage. So I believe it's probably half a year, 6 months to a year.
Okay.
I would defer that to Kate Myers, who is the architect, and who will be more familiar with that process to get to that heritage permit stage and the detailed construction drawings than myself. So if
right.
Kate's available, I think she'd be best to answer that. Thank you.
Yeah. Kate, do you have a comment?
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to say thank you, first of all, to this committee for having us here today. In terms of timeline, the moment we finalize SPA agreement, we are going to continue developing this design. As Dale mentioned, the design is preliminary and it was developed before the HCD came into full effect. However, we did consider major aspects of it, like massing height, as outlined in our application and the design statement. But we are looking forward to receiving comments from this committee. We are coming to the table with, in good faith, with collaborative spirit, and are going to develop the design in collaboration with this committee to bring it to full compliance with HCD.
Okay, yes. Councillor Hirsch, you had your hand up. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And
Else?
thanks, folks, for coming. It's good to get involved at this early stage. Question for you, Dale. Just to confirm that all, and I think Kate mentioned it, but just to confirm that you're looking at this in the context of the new, improved, finalized Wellington HCD with the amendments that were put through the OLT?
So that is correct. The initial submission was made before the HCD came into effect. However, as Kate mentioned, that we are working with ERA Architects to ensure compliance with the HCD. And as we finalize the details, we'll be working towards that heritage permit.
Yeah, I mentioned that because it's important. There were some significant, well, not huge changes, but there were changes made through the OLT process that that favors some aspects of commercial development. My second question for you is, do you have a response to Mr. Elliott's concern, not size and massing as a whole, but the failure to step back from the street, and stepping back was certainly one of the features that Carl Bray was interested in promoting. Any comment on why there is no need to do that step back from Moore Street?
So thank you for the question, Councillor Hirsch. I'll be perfectly honest, heritage is not my area of specialties. That is why we're relying on ERA architects for that. Unfortunately, just due to short notice, they were unable to attend today. I quickly did review the HCD plan over the last couple of days. So when I was reading the requirement for a step back, it did seem that it was referring to a fourth story to be step back. But I guess that is subject to some interpretation on that. And that's all I'd be able to provide at this time. We could provide a more detailed response with our heritage consultant, unless Kate has something else to provide for that, as she might also be familiar with that requirement.
Yeah, absolutely, Dale. To your point, we are within the 1 to 3 story height that is not only compatible with the existing historic inn, but is also within the permitted zoning envelope. We do step back the facade along Moore Street on the south end of the building quite significantly. So in the letter that was circulated, there was an attachment of kind of an overlaid elevation. It is a little bit misleading, as the majority of that elevation is actually stepped back from the street 1.6 meters. If we do have the ability to share the screen, we can share both that drawing and what the actual step backs are.
I think we've seen the drawings. The reason I raised this, and Kate, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe Dale, I forget who said it, but if the heritage permit is not requested before site plan control is completed, I think there's room here for potential error. And I would rather see the heritage permit in our hands and dealt with before site plan control is finalized, because once site plan control is finalized, we'll have a heck of a time making any persuading anybody to make a change. So that's just my thought on timing, and Matt, you can suggest whether you agree with that or not.
Matt?
Thank you. Through the chair to Councillor Hirsch. Unfortunately, we don't really have that ability. We've had this site plan application for approximately 1 year. The Planning Act requires that we approve a site plan within 60 days. And so that hasn't happened. This is a big project. And so we've spent a lot of time working on various aspects of the site plan. It is close to completion. What I think staff will end up recommending here is that we do a site plan control agreement, which would include a requirement for a heritage permit application. So it would be kind of a condition that would be embedded within the site plan control agreement. But I don't believe it's possible to require the heritage permit prior to site plan approval.
Yeah, I'm just suggesting it'd be better to do it sooner than later. I don't see what would hold up doing the permit application now. I don't think any changes are being contemplated that would affect the application for the heritage permit. And I think we need to have a chance to look at, anyway, just my thought on process.
Does anyone else have comments? Yes, Kate, and then to Ross. Sorry. Yep.
Yeah, if I could respond to Councillor Josh Hirsch. In terms of timing, the reason why we are working to finalize the SPA, first, like Matt explained, it has been a very long process, and the county has been nothing but gracious and collaborative in helping us resolve and issues around conservation, issues with sewer capacity, and as we are finalizing the SPA, the opportunity for us to develop the project from a cost management perspective for the client would come after the SPA is finalized. because it has been such a long process, it has been very challenging to have any sense of timeline in terms of developing the project for the larger consultant group. But in terms of addressing the comments, we understand the HCD spirit and guidelines in wanting to break down the massing, in wanting to accentuate the third level of this design. And we are in collaborative spirit, we will be looking forward to working with this committee to break down the massing visually where possible. And we already started doing that by shaping it and incorporating details around and softening the corners and looking at the Wellington architectural styles. Queen Anne was really inspiring to us in bringing in the level of detail and speaking to the level of architecture that exists in Wellington. And our intent is nothing but to bring a high quality design that's respectful of its context and responsive to the surrounding heritage. And that process we're hoping could take place after the SPA is finalized.
Thank you. Ross, you had a comment?
Yeah, well, it was more of a question. When Dale was doing his presentation, he mentioned at one point about the structure being considered new construction versus an addition, and I'm just wondering if somebody could clarify for me, either under like Planning Act or under the county's guidelines, how you differentiate between when something's an addition and when something's new construction but it's joined to an existing building.
Matt, maybe?
That's a good question. It was actually Dale who made that comment, so I may defer back to Dale. This is an addition to an existing building. It is connected to it. It's an extension of what's there. So, Dale, perhaps you can provide some context in your comment. But really, this is an addition to the existing building.
Thanks, Matt. I had collaborated with Kate in those comments, and my understanding from ERA Architects is that they are looking at this as a new development as opposed to an addition. But that is my extent of the understanding. So I would defer to Kate, or would have to follow up at another time with an answer to that.
Yeah, thank you, Dale. In qualifying and differentiating between new construction and addition, we rely on heritage experts to draw that line. And in our case, the argument that ERA has used in their memo was based on the fact that majority of the new proposal is replacing a standalone house on grounds formerly known as 20 Wharf, which is a separate, distinct, non-contributing property. And the remainder of the footprint is replacing an existing pavilion on a contributing property, but that is not part of the historic inn. It is a temporary pavilion that was built in mid-2000s. So that is the part that is being demolished, while the historic inn, the W.P. Niles Inn, is being preserved in its entirety. The new addition is a standalone building as we see it, because majority of it on levels 2 and 3 are completely disconnected from the historic inn. We are proposing to connect it at the ground floor, and as we submit the application, we are looking forward to diving deeper into it and explaining our design thinking around that connection point. But that is more of a link to ensure guests can easily access both the historic and the new wings, rather than making it into one comprehensive building.
So, but at the end of the day, you're like, the construction will result in like a larger facility, like, because you talked about adding rooms and so forth. So in fact, you're like enlarging the existing facility regardless of how you're doing it.
We're adding more rooms,
Yeah.
correct, in a distinct building that is separated by a one-story link connecting the two buildings.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, yes, Edwin now.
Thank you. I think that ERA is stretching the idea of new building here, because if it was a new building, it would operate functionally on its own. It would not need to be connected to the existing building. It cannot, that dining room cannot be served without being served by the kitchen, which is mostly in the existing building. And I think the thing that concerns me here is, and this is not something I want to go into detail here, I will make another point if I may after this, is that when in the definition of the HCD, that is ancillary. And ancillary says that a building which is ancillary has to be subservient to the size and scale of the existing building. And I think if one, in the best interpretation, you could only say that these two buildings were of equal sort of massing and presence in the street. You couldn't say it's subservient to the old J.P. Niles house. That's my first point. The second one is, if I may, is in relation to what Councillor Hirsch had to say. Councillor Hirsch, we have had recently precedent where on base 31, the Heritage Permit Task Force has made comment at site plan control stage as a planning sort of application, and Ben might want to speak to this further too, so that we have been putting in our applications at this point for those projects at a site plan stage, the very point you make that later on everything is firmed up and frozen such that you haven't much capacity to make any useful comment. And I would suggest that it would be best if the committee did put forward written comments now. The HCD is a difficult document to interpret. It's not easy to discuss because the points are fairly sort of fluid. Much easier to write about it and to put forward an argument for the consultants to look at, and then to try and make too many spot items comments here. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Councillor Hirsch.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thanks, Edwin. I agree completely. And all I want to say to these folks is, you wait for your site plan agreement, and if as Matt says, if it has a condition, that you have to get the heritage permit, you're looking at on this screen the people who are going to be approving or not approving that permit. And I would hate to see this go so far to be held up at the end because you can't get that agreement and then have to kind of appeal that through council and all that kind of stuff. This is going to be a very interesting case for us because it's going to be the first case that we've looked at in the context of the new the Wellington Heritage Conservation District. So it's going to get a really close look. Again, I just encourage you to get the application in for us to look at as soon as you possibly can. It's fine to rely on experts, but experts don't always win the day. And anyway, that's my final thought.
Okay. Yes, Edwin.
Thank you. If I could just respond again. In terms of timing, Ben, on the basis of the precedent we've set with base 31, where we have actually made a comment at site plan, could we not proceed with without an application for a formal application for a heritage permit, proceed with an application with a set of comments and analysis to the consultants right away?
Yeah. Through the chair, I may, it's certainly at the committee's discretion to provide written comment, whether as the whole committee or the task team, which could then be submitted to the planning department for consideration. Typically, and Matt could maybe provide some context on that, typically there's a deadline provided from planning for consideration. But through the chair to Matt, would that be acceptable if the committee was to provide some notes in writing? Again, this is not a heritage permit application, so there isn't a vote up or down on this. Yeah. These are points for consideration moving forward.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. So through the chair, I think some preliminary written comments are definitely warranted in this situation. If you could, perhaps through Ben, provide them to me, and I can relay those comments to the applicant itself. We can take those comments into consideration and apply them where needed. The site plan control process is really dealing with servicing, lighting, landscaping, site layout, parking, that sort of thing. So while they will help inform the architectural drawings when a building permit or a heritage permit is required, and as Councilor Hirsch alluded to, it is perhaps useful to do that at this stage, especially considering we have seen some architectural drawings, they are submitted with the site plan application. So it is certainly warranted. So if you get those to me within the next few weeks, that would be very much appreciated.
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
I suggest if there are no more questions, we have a motion to receive the comments and then move into the agenda item for discussion. I see Bob has his hand up.
Yeah, so I have it's kind of a point of order, Madam Chair. So if comments are going to be coming forth from the committee now, how do you ensure that you have a committee consensus on those comments?
Yes.
Through the chair, typically when time is a constraint, the permit task team is authorized to provide comment on behalf of the committee, which the committee endorses at the next opportunity, so at the next meeting. The next meeting is May the 7th, which may be longer than Mr. Coffey and company want to wait for that, but I might suggest certainly any committee members could communicate to members of the permit task team their thoughts, and a submission could be made and subsequent follow-up could follow from another committee meeting. So.
Yes, Edwin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just following up from Ben, I'm sure we can do it in 2 weeks, and I'm sure that we can circulate those, since it's a process which is somewhat in sort of experimental sort of growth stage, certainly with Base 31, that we would just circulate our comments to all of our committee members to have a look at before we shoot off to Kate and her team. Yeah.
Madam Chair,
sorry, not to Kate, to you, Ben, and through her.
Yeah,
through
and
Kate.
Mr. Coffey, through you, Madam Chair, just I need to remind the committee that the business of the committee cannot be handled by email. We cannot advance the business of the committee. So the task team would be delegated authority to act in the interim. And I would suggest that committee members could provide comment, but we can't circulate a draft to vote outside of a committee meeting.
Thank you. Sorry for that.
That's okay.
So then, as I'm hearing, you want the task team to be designated to forward any comments back to Matt Coffey and about the heritage issues that we see or just like to see or whatever.
Through the chair, that seems to be the plan that's formulating or swirling around here. Might I suggest we just procedurally pause for a minute, entertain a motion to receive the comments from the audience, and we'll move formally into the agenda item, and we can do this. Okay,
so then we need the comments from the audience. A motion to receive the comments from the audience on this okay, thank you, John. First seconding is Edwin. John was firsting. Thank you. John, did you get that, Ben?
Yep, thank you.
Yeah, all in favor of receiving the comments? All right, thank you very much. Now we've got that passed. Now we need to know what we will do about the comments about the historical implications, how we move that forward. So you want a motion to designate the permit task team to collect the comments, review them, and send them on to Matt?
Yeah, perhaps a motion to refer the put the whole name in, refer site application.
Yep.
Application for site plan control SPO 224 to the Heritage Permit Task Team for review and to provide comment to the planning department at their earliest convenience.
Okay. All right. Yes. Okay. About hands, are these questions are moving or seconding?
Comments. Comments.
Comment for Edwin. Okay. Hey.
Oh, thanks.
Well, we'll move it. We'll get a mover and a seconder and then do
Okay.
comments.
Comments.
John, you want to, are you moving that motion?
Sure.
Yes. Ross, are you seconding?
Sure.
All right, good. We're back into procedure. All right. So, Edwin, now a comment on that.
Comment. Just to reassure the consultant team, these comments we make will be of exactly the nature we put into heritage permit application comments anyway, so that when your application comes forward later on, it'll be largely have been gone through the mill already. I won't say be rubber stamped, but it'll be very much quicker at that stage to formalize it anyway.
Yeah. All right, John Hirsch, a comment.
Thank
as
you,
well?
Madam Chair. I would just ask, since we still have the proponents on the line, is there any other information other than what we find on the county's planning portal that they would like us to have in terms of looking at this? I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing more of a 3D modeling of what this is going to look like,
That would
which
be very
I didn't see on the portal unless I missed it.
Yeah.
But anyway, if they have any additional information that is not on the planning portal, that would be useful to this exercise.
So thank you, Councillor Hirsch. Just in regards to the planning portal, I had taken a quick look at it the other day, and it had 2 submissions on there. We have subsequently made 3 submissions. So there is a third submission drawing set that should be reviewed in my opinion. So I can forward that to staff to make sure that they have it again. But there would be some small changes there and an updated landscaping plan with the third submission.
Okay, good. And Bob, you did have a comment?
Yeah, I really support a couple of things I've heard. First, Councillor Hirsch has thought that it's important to get some comments in before the site plan gets locked down, so you don't get shoehorned into a dilemma. But also Edwin's comments about this being, I guess it's the first review under the new HCD plan. And so that just says to me, it needs some thoughtful deliberation to make sure we get it right, because, notwithstanding that there's been some zoning taking place here in 2022, it's unfortunate, but we sometimes see that what looks good on paper doesn't really play out very well on the ground. And so I think it's important that we take a good look at this one.
Yes, thank you, Bob. Yes, I agree. I think you need heads up if we are making sure that you're seeing every aspect of the heritage that we're seeing, and we don't want to blindside anybody coming back and saying, oh, well, this is what you should have done. So that's not our role. Our role is to help guide people to preserve the heritage features of the building as needed and required. Okay, so are we all set with that, Ben, then? Process?
Yes, Madam Chair, we have the motion on the floor. It has not been voted on. I think procedurally, it's best to consider this an amending motion.
Yes.
So we'll, if you're ready to call for the vote to approve the amendment.
Okay. All right. I'm ready to call a vote. All in favor? Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay.
Yes.
And the main amendment, or the main motion to receive.
Yes. Okay.
Abstained.
Okay.
Who abstained? Oh,
I did.
oh, okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Right. So a motion there to receive. Okay. Everybody in favor? Except Bob? Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Sorry, this is the motion for the task team, right?
No.
The task team was before.
This is the just receiving.
Through the chair, the referral to the task team was added on as an amendment to the motion to receive.
Oh, okay.
So the main motion will be in two parts: to receive the application as presented on the agenda, essentially, and part two is to refer it to the task team for
Okay,
review and
thank
comment.
you. Yeah. Thanks for
Okay.
that.
So we're still on track, Ben.
Yeah. Pardon me, Madam Chair. We didn't actually get a mover and seconder for the main motion.
All right. The main motion, mover and a seconder, Edwin and Ross. Mm,
So,
all right.
so the motion as amended is two parts: that the Bilton Cultural Heritage Advisory Committee discussion regarding planning file number SP0224, application for site plan control, Drake Devonshire Inn, be received, and that the application for site plan control SP0224 be referred to the Heritage Permit Task Team for review and to provide comment to the Planning Department.
All
So
right.
that is the entirety of the motion.
Okay. All in favor? Oh, we're going. Okay. All right. And that passed, I think.
Okay.
Yep. By hands I saw. Okay. So we're moving on.
Okay, thank you.
You've got your work to do that on that one, and we're moving on to the next item, 8.2.
Mhm.
All right. And that one is the signage, Heritage Conservation District signage, and a report from committee of that. And Edwin and Bob and Valerie our team are the members of that team working. So that's Bob. Are you going to walk us through your report and pick out the highlights that you really want us to focus on or question?
If Edwin and Valerie support that, then sure. So I think the HCD signage task was assigned before Val and I joined the committee, so we're catching up to a certain extent. But I think it's been understood all the way through that the signage is something that would take place with some community engagement, that the communities would have a chance to have their say, as the popular phrase goes, in the county. And as we got further into this, it's becoming quite apparent that the amount of engagement could be perhaps more than we anticipated when you consider all the number of county departments that could potentially be involved. You know, we just had the presentation about public art, and there's kind of an interesting nexus potentially there that I think is worth exploring. But the important thing is to be really clear in our minds as to what is it we're trying to achieve with the signage. And also, I personally have a little confusion over the roles, and it could be just because I'm new, but I would really like more clarity on who's going to be tasked with doing what as we move forward. And so that's the reason for this memo, is just to call attention to, can we just take a moment and make sure that we're properly organized? We all understand what the scope of the work is that we're proposing to do. And we're suggesting we do it in a stepwise way, starting with, first of all, let's plan a little bit of community engagement and see what sort of insights we can garner from that exercise. And then at that point, we can sit back and do some more planning to hopefully come up with HCD signage that is very beneficial to the communities and beneficial to the county more broadly. And we would do that in a way that lays out the options, the possibilities, the costs, and the timing, so that it's done I hate to call it this way, but sort of in a more of a project management style. Edwin and Val, do you want to add to that?
No, I have nothing more to add at the moment. I think you've given a nice summary of the issues. I think what we need, though, is some sort of endorsement of what you suggested in your memo.
Okay, Valerie, do you have any comments? No?
Well, yes, just to add what Bob and Adrian is saying, just have a clear plan moving forward. That entailing as well, some of the existing signage that we currently have, we will looking at those as well to make sure it is falling into line with what we're doing and what we want to see for the overall HCD signage.
Okay, Ross, John, and Councillor Hirsch, any comments?
I was just going to say, do we need, and if it's in there and I missed it, I apologize, sort of any reference to sort of report backs to the committee, like in terms of as the progress goes along?
No.
I think it's there, but Ross, but maybe not quite in that specific. So the last 2 pages are recommended steps to go from today to the point where we can install signage. And you're right, there are some milestones where we would check back through the committee to council. So I guess the first one would be if we can design some community engagement and then summarize that in a what we heard report, and then come back to this committee and through the committee to council to say, like, here's what we heard and these are our recommendations for moving forward. So that would be the type of approach that we would recommend.
And
does that answer your question?
And I think that's always what we do. When we go out, we look at getting finding spots around the county where you can bring those groups together and talk with them and find out what their needs are or expectations for signage, because we do have signage in the Picton Historic District, and that have been up there for quite a while. So the people are used to that in Picton. It would be interesting to see if anybody reads it and and how what comes to mind when they read those signs, because I know I was on council when they put those up a long time ago. And so we usually do that, and we pick the team looks at where you would do your public meetings so you get the most people out and the groups and all of that. We do that. Then we tend to come back with a report on what we found. And then we refine the process on the next level, as you've seen there. And Ben, I think I'm correct on that because I've sat through them. We do have expenditures. We don't have big money in our budget, so we need to make sure we're using the facilities to gather people together. Or we can have their website has opportunities. The county website has opportunities for people to fill in questionnaires on it too. So there's more than one process to get some information from the people in person and not in person. And I think we do that. We did that with street naming, the process. So that's a standard process that we go through. When it comes to actually, and we did it on the museum signs as well. We did have signage there. I think, Ben, that it's not up to us how it gets put in place. Once we get the signs designed and at the final end project, it will be turned over to the staff department for putting up. It's not us. We don't do that. We often will question, have they gone up? And we want to see the pictures and we want to know it's done. But we don't have any say in, we're not doing the sign putting up. It's all goes over to that department. Yes, and the cost of it, the council has to approve the cost of the signage. And that would be that's one other step in the process. We get if you get it ready and know what it is and the materials you want it made out of and the pricing, and then that goes to council. If they approve it, then it goes to staff to do the putting them up, and then we can do the PR. We could help with the PR on the sign has now gone up and here it is and it looks beautiful. So, am I correct on that process, Ben?
Yes, Madam Chair, I believe that is correct. This would be ultimately a staff project to put the signs up, but fulfilling the advisory part of this committee's name, committee would be providing advice on the style and substance, quantity, design,
and location
of the thing, and then staff would take it from there.
Yeah. So that's a really, really, really not detailed summary, but a really the bullet point one that happens. Yes. So yeah, Bob, you're looking quizzical at me.
Well, so consider this. We've tried to do a little bit of homework, which is, I call it a situation analysis. That's really the first step. If you're going to do any kind of public consultation, just find out what kind of interest is out there.
Yep.
So from the people we've talked to so far, yeah, there's a fair amount of interest out there. There's also some interesting ideas that have already come forward about what these signs, not just what they represent, but what they might be able to facilitate. I'll give you one example. I've often heard from knowledgeable people in the county that among many of the volunteer organizations that have to do with heritage, there's concern that in the future, as the volunteers get to a stage where they no longer want to volunteer, they may become resource depleted, if I can put it that way. Just not enough people to make it work. So that means that cooperation and collaboration among the various organizations might be a solution. But at the same time, I often hear that that doesn't always happen, that a lot of the organizations are working in silos, and maybe the same could be said for some of the departments in the county. I don't know. A lot of organizations are like that. But if you have an opportunity for some community engagement where there's a common cause that could bring some of these groups together, perhaps it might be a way of developing some relationships where they'll continue to work together in the future to their mutual benefit. So, we're sensing there's things like that possible. We've had some interesting ideas come forward about, could these signs be about more than just the particular HCD? So for example, can there be QR codes or links on these signs that, for example, would direct you to the archives or the museums or the Ameliusburg Heritage Hub if you want more information? So there's all sorts of possibilities there. And I think what we're recommending is, let's be organized in going about this. Let's make sure we know who's doing what so that we can find out if these are realistic opportunities that would benefit not just the HCDs, but the county more generally. And as I said, we'll do it in a stepwise way so we don't get ahead of ourselves and try and do it at the right scope and scale.
Yes, and I think that we have established a list of interested parties related to heritage, and they are always notified. I think, Ben, if I'm correct, that the invitation and the acknowledgement of the meeting and go out to them, and they're invited to come and do that. And whoever comes, so that it's an invitation. It's going to have you have that opportunity, and we do that every time. So that list is, I think, Ben, you have that. I think we've established that way back at the beginning. So we know where all these people are, like in the Heritage, they're kind of like registered, and we have a list, so we can invite them to come. Yeah. So
I'd be interested in seeing that list. It's the
Yep.
first I've heard of it.
yes. Yeah, we established it at the beginning of the committee because of having to have open houses on the designation of properties. So we know who they all are. In fact, I think in 2012 we established a list. Those of us involved in doing historical historical activities. Sometimes I think it is hysterical, but and we established a list, and we've had them come together periods of time to gain support, partnering with each other, and we've done that periodically. Then they get a little interest, and then it dies away, and then we bring them back again and try to do it again. And so, but we do have a list, and maybe we should review that list and make sure we haven't had anybody drop off or some new ones come on. And make sure the contacts are still viable, and bring that together. Yeah, that's what we would do if we were doing that kind of outreach. Yeah.
Well, I'd be interested in seeing the list and compare it with the advice that I've been given as to who might have an interest. How do we nail down the who does what and when of this?
The clerk's office, if we want to have a public meeting, we go to the clerk's office, Ben's office, and they arrange the date and time in consultation with the committee. They try to find a location for that, and then the letters will go out from them. That's a staff. It's not a committee member would do that. That has to go through the clerk's office.
So whether this is done by public meeting or not, how do we facilitate that discussion? Like who's involved in the planning here?
Your committee will be in planning and bring it back to this main committee to say, this is what we want to do. You come back and say, we've picked the date, May 14th. We would like to bring people together here and to do this. And then we turn it over to Ben to get that set up.
So we can make recommendations on the methods of community engagement that we think are appropriate.
Well, yes, you can. But there are some defined methods for certain things, but I don't think this is one of those that's really a legislative one that there are some that have to come 30 days and all that, and this would not be it. This would be just public consultation. So
no, this isn't falling under the Planning Act. It's community engagement.
Or any other provision that the council has made for certain consultations. So so that goes right into Ben. So your committee can come back and say, this is what we would like to see happen. And then we get it to Ben, and Ben, I'm sorry, Ben, you get more work.
Through you, Madam Chair, Bob, I'd be happy to have a phone call and go over some more nitty stuff offline.
Yeah. But we like the bigger committee needs to be informed because we'd like to attend. I mean, it's like we would come out and attend the meeting if possible. So that's why it'll come back to this, and so we all know. Yeah.
Well, I think the planning part of this is more of a conversation. And right now I'm in Halifax, and I would prefer to have the conversation face to face with Val and Edwin and you, Ben, so that we can get our heads around it. I'm back mid-April, so perhaps the latter part of April before the next committee meeting, we could try and find a date when everyone's available.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah,
that's good. Let's coordinate amongst us offline. Perfect.
Okay, and I see some agrarian cinnamon buns involved in that meeting too.
Yeah, but you're paying for them. we have a small food budget and coffee.
Happily, I happily do that.
It's like at Glenwood. they get coffee and cookies when we're together and fruitcake and all whatever, but I'm paying for that so, out of my pocket.
Oh,
I'm
dear.
baking it. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. Now, if you let me know, I'll send along some ginger snaps or something for you.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. You're the best.
Oh, yes. So yes, it's
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Madam Chair, if we're ready, I think
Yep.
we do need a motion to receive this
Yep.
discussion.
Yes, we do. Okay, so the Built and Heritage that the Bills and Cultural Heritage Advisory Committee discussion regarding the Heritage Conservation District signage be received. A motion for that. Thank you, Arjon and Edwin seconding it, and all in favor. Good, good. All right, so now we're working into the task team and working groups and task team updates. Well, Heritage Designation Working Group, we have you done any permits yet? No. Or designation, you're not working on any designations right
No,
now, are
well,
you?
there's some behind the scenes, some people are still
Okay,
working, but there has not been a meeting, so there's nothing new to come forward.
okay. All right. Cemetery task team. We didn't get a meeting because I've been busy trying to figure out what cemeteries have trees falling down in them. And some are, and actually a huge tree fell down in Mountain View before the ice storm. And we got it cleared out because we're having an early burial there. And lo and behold, another has fallen. So we're scrambling and pretty well doing that. So that's diverted us. And we'll have to get back on track. So that's my heritage permit task team. We have none of those to
Just
no?
the previously provided comments that Edwin
Yeah.
referenced for the base 31, and I guess the currently discussed feedback on the Drake Devonshire.
Yeah. So we're up to date on both of those areas.
Yeah.
Okay. And we're gonna have to
Can I just,
yes.
while we're there,
Yep.
just make a comment? On SP 1224, which is the one Ross refers to, which is the base 31, it's a second round of comments on the site plan. It only relates to, what's it relate to? It's nothing really relating to us. It's air purification, no, air clarification, what's the word for it? Air purity, heritage, energy conservation and climate control. So we have been invited to make comment, and I just want to inform the committee that we will be writing in, it's due by this Friday. I will write in with everyone else's agreement, just saying that we have no further comments, because I'd love to comment on all those things, but they're nothing to do with our heritage mandate.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay. So should we have a motion to get those updates received? Okay, thank you, John, for the motion to receive the working tasks and working groups and tasks. Seconder? Thank you, Ross. We'll do Ross. All in favor? Thank you. Updated master list of permits. We don't have anything to update on that?
No, there was nothing new.
Okay. So we don't need a motion because there's nothing. No.
We just do need a motion to receive. It's on the agenda, so we just
Oh,
just
a
at the
motion to receive that we have no permits.
Yeah.
Okay, Edwin and a seconder, Arjon.
John, you put your hand up.
All in favor, yeah. Okay, the work plan. Are we having any updates on the work plan?
Through Madam Chair, I'll remind there were some items added last month, which including a review of the terms of reference of the committee and a few things. Typically, what works well is perhaps pulling one or two items for a particular meeting, so you can take some time to sink your teeth into it. So perhaps at our next meeting to plan the next
Yes.
agenda,
Okay.
we can prioritize some of those.
Yep. Yes. Okay, good. All right. So the next meeting is May 7th.
Pardon me, Madam Chair, we
Yes.
will need a motion to receive the
Oh,
December
the working
plan.
plan a work
Yep.
plan motion here to receive that we, Ross and Edwin, thank you. All in favor? There we go. All right. Okay, now the next meeting date, May 7th, 2025.
Mhm.
Okay, same time,
Mhm.
9:30. Yep, Wednesday. Yep, good. All righty. So, any other, you need a motion to adjourn?
Mhm.
I think we had a good meeting today. I think we got ideas out and I'm pleased with it. And we're not too, oh, look at, right on time, 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
All right. Motion to adjourn. I see, oh, all hands are up for
All right.
adjourning. So pick one, pick one there. All righty. Thank you very much and stay healthy and safe and don't overwork yourselves. Okay.
Have a good day, everybody.
Right.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.